right, good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. Before we get started, congrats to men's basketball. Huge win last night, and want to wish men and women good luck in the Big 12 tournament coming up. Also hosting the national championship for rifle. It's pretty impressive. Looking forward to come over and checking that out this weekend. So I want to wish them good luck this weekend as well. I want to quickly kind of recap the winter, and then we'll move into some spring stuff. Finishing up our winter the rest of this week. Been a productive 8 weeks, really. Depending on how you look at it, for the kids, probably been a long 8 weeks, really. For staff, it's been relatively short just because there's so many things going on. But I want to give Mike Joseph and his staff a lot of credit. I think they've done a tremendous job. Really in the winter, we really focused on developing competitive character, mental toughness, discipline, and then team chemistry. Those have been kind of the focus. And I think our guys have made huge strides on that. Buy-in has been really high, and that's a credit to the leadership on our football team so far. Workouts have been high energy. They've really done what we've asked them to do. I think everyone, coaches, players, everybody's ready for spring ball. There's only so much evaluating you can get done during winter conditioning, but credit to our guys so far. So far, so good. No depth chart right now, which I know is going to be disappointing to some of you guys, but really there's nothing to base it off of. When I came in here, I told our guys, hey, everybody's got a clean slate. So I've watched very little video. I've said that before publicly. So I don't think it's fair to the guys on the team that have been working for 8 weeks for me to release a depth chart on something that I don't have one practice of evaluation. So everybody's got a clean slate and 15 practices. And the way I'll present this to our team, the same way I'll present it to you all, is the guys that are on our roster right now have 15 practices to put themselves in position to play in the fall. When we go into fall camp, all our signees or any roster additions will now be given the same courtesy. They'll have between 14 and 18 practices to prove that they're ready to play when we kick it off versus James Madison. Spring priorities for myself and our coaching staff is these are not in any particular order, but there's 5 things that are really important. Is the first one is to establish expectations and how we want to practice. The second one is we got to ID personnel, make sure we have people in the right spots, and create a depth chart. The third is to continue to teach base fundamentals. I think spring practice is one of my favorite times as a coach because you don't have a game that you're preparing for. It's really about the basics of football. Fourth thing would be to teach our base schemes in all 3 phases. Okay, offense, defense, special teams. We're not going to get too extreme as far as what we're going to install. It's going to be basic. And then last thing is just competition. Competition in several different ways. Offense, defense, competition within those position rooms. But those are the priorities as we head into spring. Quickly, I'll kind of give some thoughts offensively and defensively. I know you all have some questions. Some I'll have answers to. Some I just won't until I actually get to watch them with the ball. Starting off with offense, I think offensive line is one of the things that this spring is probably as important as anything. Is we got to find the right positions to put all the guys in. We've got some guys up there that play a good bit of football. The center position is something that's really important. That we've got to establish a 2 deep there. And we've got some young guys that I think it's time. They really need to make some moves. You know, guys like Mike Brown, Bryson Mays, who's had a great winter. Some of those guys really got to come on. At running back, I think that's the strength of our offense right now. The competition we have in that room, quite frankly, that's what we need across the board. I think we've got 4 real high-quality guys in that room that are going to compete at a high level all spring. They're talented. They've had really productive off seasons, and really we'll need to utilize more than one. You know, I think that if those guys, plus we had Tony Mathis in the summer, I think that's we got to figure out probably how to get more than one of those guys on the field. At receiver, we've got a couple guys established. I think it's big. You know, I think T.J. Simmons and Bush. I think it's time for both of those to kind of increase their roles. And then we got some young guys, you know, some redshirt freshmen, sophomores that, hey, they've been kind of in the shadows, and now this spring's gonna be their first time to get out there with the ones and show that they can be productive at this level. Guys like Sam James, Quincy Hall, Bryce Wheaton, Randy Fields, those type of guys. It's this spring's going to be really critical for them. At tight end, I think very similar to how I was talking about T.J. Simmons. I think T.J. is ready to kind of take the next step and kind of be a go-to guy. I think if you look at tight end, Giovanni Haskins is the same guy. He's had a great offseason, has all the skills that you're looking for at that position. And then T.J. Banks is another guy that's going to get a lot of reps there this spring. And that quarterback, I'll just kind of, because I know I'm going to get questions on this, so I won't waste my time previewing this, but basically three-way competition. We'll have it split up of how who will be the lead guy each day. But the way we practice, they're all going to get enough reps. And here's my basic line, and I know y'all asked this a bunch of different ways, which I respect, okay? But basically, it's like, here's my deal on quarterback competition, is when it's clear, it is clear. Like, and I've been involved in a bunch of these throughout time as a play caller, and when it's clear, it's clear. And there's a time to when you name that guy, but the best answer I can give you is when it's clear, it's clear. I think all three of those guys have really worked hard this winter. I think they've worked hard trying to learn schematically what we're trying to do. I think they've established themselves as leaders. And so I'm excited to see how they're going to go out and compete once the balls come out. So that's offensively. Defensively, I think at D-line, starting off there, is we got to establish a real 2D in that interior D-line. You know, offense, I'll go back to this. Offensively, a lot of similarities schematically to what they've done here in the past. Defensively, it's really different. And so there's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve maybe for some of our defensive guys. But starting with our D-line, we need to establish a 2D really across the board there, interior-wise, at our nose and our three technique spot. I think I've been impressed. I think Darius Steele is a guy that's going to fit what we do schematically, I think, really well. I've been impressed with how he's changed his body over the winter. I think there's some, you know, Reese Donahue has been one of our top workers all winter, which, I mean, you all know him, so that's to be expected. We need guys like Dante Steele. He's got to come, you know. And then at 5 technique, where we're going to play Pooler, and really excited about Taj Austin, who's a mid-year signee. So we feel like we've got some bodies there. We just got to develop. You know, we've got to develop there. Inside linebacker, so you'll have an idea when we talk about that, and you can get into it with our defense staff if you want to. When we talk about inside linebacker, we're talking about our Mike linebacker position and our bandit linebacker position, okay? So when you hear us use those terms, so like Blake Siler's coaching inside linebackers, those would be the 2 positions that he's responsible for. I think we got really good competition at Mike linebacker. I feel like, you know, unless something changes now, I think Tonkery's going to be almost full speed for the spring, so that's good. And he and Shea Campbell played a lot of snaps there. At Bandit, right now we've got several guys that were working there. Exree Lowe and Sandwich and Ferns, they're all working at that Bandit linebacker position. Okay, we talk about outside linebacker. We're talking about a wheel linebacker and a spear, is really essentially a nickel position. So at outside linebacker, at that wheel spot, we're playing Josh Chandler is probably somebody that has good off seasons. Anybody in our program, and then our spear position, Giovanni Stewart is playing that position. Bonamico is going to play there. Lindsey and Raines could play either one of those wheel or spear positions. So just give you an idea, kind of when you hear us talk about outside linebackers, that's who we're talking about. At safety, you know, we got Kenny Robinson and Pitts are returning, and then Jake Long is a guy that we've moved to safety from corner. He showed real promise with some of his movements during conditioning. And then Mahone as well, who played some corner, I think a year ago, played a little bit of safety. But those are the guys at safety. Kerry Martin, mid-year sign, early enrollee, he's going to play safety as well. And then at corner, got a lot of veteran competition. Okay, with the older guys, Bailey and Norwood, Washington, Jordan Adams, those guys. And then I've been really impressed with Drayshawn Miller, who's came in and done a really good job so far in the workouts. Special teams wise, I think the biggest question on that is punting. You know, who's going to handle the punting duties? And so we've got some people that we feel like are more than capable, and I look forward to kind of watching them go about competing as we get into that as well. So I know that's kind of a long kind of opening, but wanted to kind of cover that, and with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Neal, you've been through first springs before, whether it's OC or head coach. Issues the first time around in installing what you need to install and doing what you need to do? For
my end or for the players?
Both.
For my end, just having patience. It's not necessarily a virtue of mine, so having patience. You know, it's not for players. It's really just, you know, and it's one of those first things I talked about as far as them just understanding what our expectations are. You know, this is my belief, is like players in general or students in general, they want to do what they're expected to do. They just need to know real clear, have a real clear expectation of what that is. So we've got to establish our practice habits and what our expectations for them are on a daily basis inside of practice.
You're going to have a quarterback competition between three guys. How do you rate, not the guys, but the qualities of a quarterback? What are you looking at? What's most important?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing you look at is the non-negotiables. Let's talk about that. So the non-negotiables is character and leadership. Okay, so you take those out, and then I think the next thing that you talk about is accuracy. You got to be accurate. Second thing is, and these are not in any order, and honestly, I'm talking off the top of my head. So accuracy, and then you got to have the ability to keep plays alive now. Those two things, especially in this league, is you better. It's almost like this is the way I describe it. All right, so you got your old school point guards in basketball, right? That were basically all they did was distribute the ball. They came down, called the play, distributed the ball, right? Now you got your new age point guards. The guys are playing NBA now. Okay, like Harden, he has the ball in his hand. For all intents and purposes, you know, your basketball, he's playing point guard live, you know? And so what's he doing? Well, he's creating shots for himself, but he's creating shots for others, but he's also creating shots for himself. So same thing for quarterback, is quarterback just being able to distribute all the time. Yeah, those still apply, but he's got to be able to create his own. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes we're not going to block them all, and he's got to be able to create opportunities for himself. So accuracy and being able to keep plays alive.
Kind of elevates decision making quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Decision making is, to me, like I should have said that. That's part of a given too, I guess, honestly. But decision making really clears itself out. You know what I mean? Like, and what I'm saying on that front is like, if you're making bad decisions, okay, you have pre-snap and post-snap decisions. All right. So pre-snap decisions, you're getting yourself in the wrong place. Post-snap decisions, those are ended up in turnovers if they're bad, right?
Are we reading into it too much that you're going to go towards a dual threat QBs to recruit versus the old pro style breakdown, or do pro style guys just have to move enough in the pockets instead?
No, I just think it's like, well, like Will, what Will vertical? 34, man, that's pretty athletic. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty athletic. And I think if you watched him last year, and this is just me, just watching him as a fan, like, he did a really good job keeping plays alive. So, would he be labeled as a dual threat? You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know when he came out of high school, but I think there's a difference between, this is the way I look at it, is would you call running plays for them, or can they keep plays alive? Does that make sense? And so I don't think that it's necessarily. I don't think it's necessary for you to actually be a running quarterback and call plays for them, but they have to be, all right. They have enough pocket awareness, and they got to be athletic enough to be able to move around. Yeah. That was a really non-answer for you. So to be honest, we're going to sign the best quarterback we possibly can. All right.
Anybody else other than Jake move positions?
Yeah, we got a couple. And then that's something that Mike can kind of, I'll hit a couple here. Gamitter is going to move from defensive line to O-line. And if I miss anybody, Mike, just put them, you can put it in the release. Talk about Giovanni. Giovanni played linebacker last year. He's going to move to our spear position. Quandarius Qualls is going to move down and play defensive end. Talked about Kerry Martin going to be a safety. Jake Long moving to safety. I think that's everybody as far as any kind of position movement. The receiver spots are all kind of going to be in limbo as far as who's playing what position until we get in and kind of watch them.
You mentioned concrete in terms of injury. Any other injuries that will be a factor this spring, or anything else that will cause somebody to miss some time?
Well, so you got the guys that were out last year. I'll touch on those real quick. Charlie Benton is starting to move around. I think he increases his run protocol today, but he won't be able to do anything during spring. O'Loughlin, who's a guy that I'm excited about his future. I think he'll be able to do some stuff that's on air as far as just running routes and things like that, but won't do anything in a competitive scenario. Hensley will be out for the spring. We're hoping Qualls can do some work. It'll be limited. It'll be very limited, but we're hoping as the spring progresses, he can do more work. Those are all right off the top. Am I missing anybody? Anybody else got questions on injury? Yeah, he's out. Yeah, he's out. He had surgery a week ago Friday.
Second biggest special teams question: how will that position be coached?
Yeah. So I guess I can kind of. I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm gonna hold off on that. I'll promise though, I've got an answer for that. So, but I'll do it before. We've actually got a staff meeting later today, kind of going over some of that stuff. So.
This is a conference that's known for its offense. And is there a danger as a coach of getting caught up in the idea of we got to outscore them, and kind of even subconsciously ignore the defense a little bit as far as even maybe recording or whatever?
I don't know if I think each game's different. I really do. And you can't deny that this is an offensive league. You know, I do think though, if you look at it, last year, and this is just me kind of coming into the league over the last few weeks, just kind of evaluating each team. I think there's been some real solid defensive improvement across the board in the league, and some of the reasoning behind the offenses. I mean, look at the incredible run of quarterbacks this league's had. I mean, it's incredible, honestly. But I think you have to understand that at the league as it is currently, is you got to be able to score. Now, I don't think there's any reason why you can't be really good on offense, really good on defense. You know, but you do have to score in this league.
15 practices. The weather in West Virginia can be rather unpredictable this time of the year. How do you adjust those practices when the weather can be so strange?
Well, I think we're going to play in these elements, so you need to practice in them. The good thing about spring is you got some flexibility there. You know, so like if it's snowing really heavy, then we can always, if you look at our schedule, most of them have a day in between, so you can always slide.